Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. Right, Andrey Rublev gets it done against Novak Djokovic. He stops him from winning his first title of 2022 at home as well, no doubt, at the Belgrade Open. Oh, it was a very interesting match, to say the least. We're going to bring up the stats in a second. Before we do, though, please do remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys for your support. And also, thank you for joining the live stream. Venu did a good live stream commentary of the final on the channel. Thanks to those who joined. If you were wondering where I am, I was actually on the Game to Love podcast. Do check out that channel if you haven't done so already. And have a look at that. I did some commentary for the final there, which is nice of them to have me on. Right, let's get into this then. So, Novak Djokovic, in the end, winning. I was about to say he won, but it was Andrey Rublev in the end, won in 3 sets. The first 2 sets I thought were really, really good, especially from Rublev in terms of his level. I thought was really high. The third set, Rublev didn't play a bad level, but Djokovic just fell away massively. He fell away massively, and it was just one of those things that, Rublev was just being clinical, getting it done. Djokovic, you could tell after the first couple of games in the third set, he was spent. But fair play to Rublev, a very, very clinical performance from the Russian. And you can see they're winning 6-2, 6-7, 6-love. And the biggest thing for me, and I think I'm going to go through first some of the patterns of play in the match, what I guess surprised me maybe as well. But what ended up happening for me was that Rublev was hitting the ball deeper than Djokovic throughout pretty much the entire match. Now, that's something that was the biggest thing for me because Novak Djokovic, what makes him so good, what sets him apart from all the other players, and why he has a winning record, I feel, against a Nadal and a Federer, for example, and in some people's eyes, they still see him as the GOAT, or currently see him as the GOAT, is his depth. He hits the ball deeper than anyone else. If you watch him, he doesn't hit the ball harder than anyone else. No way. We know that. But you don't need to. If you have the skill level to go within, a meter, half a meter within the baseline, even clip the baseline at times, use fantastic angles, use the pace on the ball that's coming at you, deflect it effectively, you're going to be an elite player. And Djokovic has done that for years. And the biggest, I think, addition to his game was the fact that the forehand before wasn't really much of a weapon. He's now able to dictate points with the forehand. Now, today we didn't see it as much, and that's because I think the forehand has broken down at times through the week. However, he definitely looked better as soon as that first set against Karen Khachanov in the semi-final concluded. The second set onwards in that match, he started playing some really, really good tennis. It was almost vintage Djokovic, and we saw flashes of it against Rublev for sure. But that's what it is. It's still flashes. I don't think he is 100% there, and I think that shows in that third set. But maybe it's less to do with the fact that, mentally and I guess in terms of his ball striking and timing, it's not there. It's more to do with the fact that he's physically exhausted. He did come out after and say that it's not COVID, but he's suffering from some type of illness, or did a couple of weeks ago, and he's been struggling to recover from it, basically, which is why he feels he's, gassing out really down the stretch. For Rublev, though, a really, really good performance. I thought, especially after losing the tiebreaker, he could have put his head down. He did get broken straight away, but he broke back. He broke back early sorry, he didn't get broken back in the third set because he bageled Djokovic, but he had an opportunity to get broken, if I'm not mistaken, in that third set. But then he was the one that got the break, Rublev. He got the break of serve. He went 2-love up, and then it was just sayonara, see you later, because Djokovic just didn't have anything left to give. I mean, he was already on his hands and knees throughout the back end of the second set anyway, and myself and JG on the GTL podcast saying, this looks a bit weird. This looks a bit weird. But with a Serbian crowd behind him, obviously carried on. I almost feel like he could have retired at the end of the second set, or even right at the start of the third set before he even started. But, he fought till the end, so kudos to him. But let's talk about Rublev more, because I'm going to talk about Djokovic in depth in the French Open power rankings that I do, which I'll release later today or tomorrow. Andrey Rublev, for me, has he turned a corner? I'm not sure. It's very hard to say based on one game and one match. But what I thought was really, really good is that, yes, we saw a few of the outbursts at times from Rublev, but it wasn't consistent throughout the whole match. Yes, I guess it's easy to say that when you're winning the match, and that's what was happening until, of course, the start of the third set where it was one set all. But I think he could have lost his cool like multiple times, especially losing the tiebreaker in the second set and losing a tiebreaker. Especially when you've won the first set and then the second set goes to a tiebreaker and you think, I've done enough. If I win this, I'll win straight sets. You lose it. Mentally, it can break you, or it can be very hard to overcome and then reset for a decider when you feel like I should have got it done. Like I shouldn't still be on court. So that's what he would have been thinking. But yeah, a really, really impressive display, I think, mentally, for one, from Rublev. Second of all, was the backhand down the line. Now, we know Djokovic's backhand on the line is probably, might be one of the best ever. For Rublev, though, it's a much improved shot. Before, it was a big weakness. He used to almost hit it behind him, or it just didn't really hit through the ball, didn't trust that shot at all. As these have gone by, it's become better and better. And I think the backhand on the line, he still hit winners with in the past, but it was very, very sporadic and it was very inconsistent. He'd miss it a lot as well, trying to go for too much. I feel like he chooses the backhand on the line more often than not as the right choice. And before, I think he'd almost go to it too early. I think now he does trust himself on it even more than usual, but he knows when to go to it. And I think it's really impressive to see. It's great to see him evolving his game, and that's part of it that's definitely evolved. I think there's still so much room for him to improve and become. I mean, he's already 8 in the world. At one point, he was, 5 in the world, playing the way he does. I think there's so many different things he can add to his game to become close to an elite player, and I think reach that next level. And there's a few things off the top of my head, and some people said it in the chat for the live stream commentary, was on the first thing that comes to mind is a drop shot. And I think, especially on this surface, I think he only played one, which is in the third set. And, I was banging on about it on commentary, and then he did it, and I thought, yeah, well done. And because Djokovic was so far back on the clay as well, it's a must have. And it doesn't need to be a phenomenal drop shot, it just needs to be a drop shot. Sometimes it doesn't need to be a winner. It just needs to be good enough that you can then finish the point off, even at the net by coming forward or past your opponent, because it's a tricky drop shot to get back into court deep and with, I guess, the right penetration through the court. So that's the one thing. And then I think also the backhand slice, which he's used a little bit and it's still not particularly good. And I think that can improve. And then I guess varying paces on his forehand and backhand. I think, not necessarily to the extreme where he hits the lob, which I know Djokovic does hit sometimes. And on the clay, it's a pretty effective tool, to be fair, if you're hitting it deep enough, with enough on it. And it's good to just get yourself into, I guess, a rally as well. If you feel like you're on the back foot, then you can hit that deep and then you've got more time, right? And I think at times Djokovic looked really rushed from Rublev, and that's why he hits it. So, if you can add something with different looks on the forehand as well, then that's a big plus. And I think the last one, and these are only my initial thoughts on how to improve, is his second serve. Now, I thought generally it was better. I was about to say today, but yesterday. But what I would say is that generally the second serve is just too weak. And I think Djokovic, on his day, he would have pounced on it more. He is, in my opinion, the greatest returner ever. Even though I'm a Nadal fan, I think I'm happy to admit that. And I think against Rublev, yeah, there were some great returns, but for the most part, he didn't look 100%. I think Rublev's second serve would have been pounced on more had he been. But in saying that, I thought some of the placement of the second serves were much better. He committed to going down the tee on the juice side to the backhand, and a lot more kick and spin on the serve, I found as well. But something to improve upon. But those are the three things. But I'm saying this and not in a negative way at all. What I'm saying is that look, this is how good he is. He's already won a Masters 1000. He's already won multiple 500s, another 250 here. He's won a lot of tournaments now, Andrey Rublev. If he wants to get to that next level, that next step, if he wants to be a Grand Slam champion, which I think he's got the potential to be, just needs to add to his game. He's already got such a big game. I mean, he's one of the biggest ball strikers on tour. The reason why I think as well people maybe slept on him on the clay is because he doesn't necessarily have that kind of diverse game, and I think also he hits the ball so hard. People think that he hits it flat. He doesn't. He hits especially the forehand and actually the backhand as well, with as much topspin, if not more, than some of the best in the world. He's up there with your Nadals, your Berrettinis with forehand, RPM, topspin. He really is. Go and check out the stats, and that is what is so impressive to me as well. And especially then when he's then committing to the depth, because he hits with so much topspin, he can push towards the baseline. That's what he was doing in this match, and that is what gave him the success that he ended up getting in the end. So I think for him on the clay, it means he can make more forehands. Amazing, right? Because that's what he wants. He obviously wants to make as many first serves as possible, which, I think, and we'll have a quick look through those stats, actually, the serve stats. But I mean, 73% of first serve points won is very, very solid. And you kind of expect that given that most of the time he will have a forehand to feast on after the return as the 1+ shot. But a first serve percentage of 58% is a little low, to be fair. I think he needs to get that more towards the 65% mark. And then you're talking, okay, great. But what he did was back up the first serve well. And the second serve, you can see that 51% of second serve points won is actually really good. For Djokovic, you can see some really poor serving stats. 63% is actually solid on the first serve for serves in. But the issue was the first serve points won and second serve points won. Now, not enough there. He wasn't backing up well enough on the 1+ shot in the past. For the past 2 years, he's been very good at being able to dictate with the 1+ shot, especially with the forehand, or even the backhand, and just be a bit more proactive and penetrate through the court. It wasn't doing that. He almost went into his old self, and I think at this age, he's just not able to play at that type of, not even level, it's that type of style anymore, which is just a grit throughout the whole thing. And he did it really throughout the whole week, and that's a testament to him because he's such a phenomenal athlete and player. But you can't do that forever, and he's that's why he's added things to his game, like bulking up the serve, like bulking up the forehand, and it's been an incredible evolution to see. You can see there's 7 aces as well to 6 for Rublev's. I thought both of them at times served really clutch. I think Djokovic, that's you can see right that's improved, because even when he's not feeling 100%, he still manages to hit aces and still manages to hit his spots at times, which is fantastic to see. But for Rublev, I thought actually, especially on some crucial points when he was break point down or he was, at juice, he saved break points with big serves. Now, they were either aces or unreturnables, or it was just a really big serve out wide, came forward, put away the short ball with ease. Routine, but in saying it's a routine shot, wasn't really though, because you've got Novak Djokovic on the other side. It's a break point. I think it was a set point actually towards the back end of the second set, and he just kept on holding serve, even though the break point opportunities kept on coming. So that's what was impressive. And look at that, break point saved 8 out of 9. That is phenomenal from Andrey Rublev. That really is, and I think that says it all. That how well he fought throughout. But yeah, the 6 aces and the first serve has definitely improved, and I think it is now a weapon, and that's great to see. If he can just, I guess, close the gap and the disparity between his first and second serve even more, then it will help a huge deal. So yeah, really, really, really good. You can see breakpoint save for Djokovic only 6 out of 12. So generally, it was for me a very, very good showing from Andrey Rublev. He marches on, and after as well, he said to Djokovic, you can sign the ball to throw into the crowd, or the balls to throw into the crowd, because the tradition at this tournament is that the winner signs tennis balls and chucks into the crowd. Rublev said to, no, it's fine. Djokovic can do it, because he knew, right, the crowd don't want his signature. As good a player as he is, and I'm sure, I still don't want it. I think they would want it, but not as much, of course, as Djokovic is. So, it's in Serbia. Really, really good. But let's see what Rublev can do throughout the rest of the clay court swing. I'm pretty happy at how he's developing. I think it's a really good start now to the clay court swing for him. Against Yannick Sinner, again in the Monte Carlo Masters, I think we saw that weakness of the second serve. You can tell that he's taken note of that. Before, there was too many second serves going down the middle of the box. If you're going to hit it that slow, you need to then at least go into the corners. And that's what he was trying to do against Djokovic anyway. So much, much better from Rublev. Great to see him striking the ball as well as he is. And not just striking the ball as well as he is, but with the amount of depth that he is as well is fantastic. Also, he came to the net at times as well, which I liked. I like that look. And I know he's not the best volleyer, but I think being proactive with the net is a great, great sign. Djokovic did it towards the back end. I mean, the whole of the third set really was him just trying to shorten the point as much as possible because he was so tired. Ended up getting bageled. I mean, that happens. But he was actually a lot of the exchanges, Rublev, which was the most impressive thing to me before I wrap up. He was managing to win a large portion. I would like to see the stats. I don't think it would be the majority, but it's definitely close to 50-50, I would say. Most of those points that went 9 shots or more, Rublev was either winning or competitive. So I would say he was winning 45% of them, right? Which against Djokovic, you don't expect that to be the case because, okay, the shorter points you expect Rublev to win because he's got the bigger kind of weapons, you might say, on the forehand, especially. Djokovic, yes, on top, he'll win some of those points as well because he's got a good serve, and if it's a short ball and put it away, he's clinical like that for the most part, even in this condition. Whereas for Andrey Rublev, he doesn't. I don't think people expect him as the rallies go on to win those longer rallies. They expect him to make a mistake. So, in saying that, it was really impressive. I think his shot tolerance and also his willingness to go deeper into points at times when he knew that, okay, look, if I go big now or I go from neutral to aggressive at this point, there's a high chance I'm going to hit this ball long or wide or shank it or just it's not going to work. So his decision making was really impressive. So for me, a very, very good win. Great to see. I'm hoping we see more of Rublev like this. And yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing him in the rest of the clay court swing, especially leading up to Roland Garros. I don't think he's going to be one of the main contenders. He'll be in that kind of second or third tier, probably the third tier, just below your Tsitsipas's, your Alcaraz's. So we'll see. He'll be among, I guess, maybe like your Berrettini, for example. Not a bad place to be, though. And I think, he will want to keep on making strides in all the Grand Slams and push and push and push and just, just sneak in there because no one's really talking about him that much. And they haven't really been talking about him that much. And that's fine. And I can see why because, there's definitely some areas to improve, but he's a very talented player. Can be anyone on his day as long as mentally he's right and the right game plans in place. Thanks very much, guys, for tuning in. Please remember to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already to support us. Also, if you're interested in football, we do have a football channel. It's on the page. You can check it out. It's a separate YouTube channel. Do check that out. We are also on all podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and of course, we are also on Anchor as well. Thanks very much, guys. Stay safe and well, and see you on the next video.